flooding there. Joining me now, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Good to have you back. I know that state and federal resources have just poured into that area. Is there anything more that can be done congressionally, legislatively to help these folks?
In a moment like this, we feel just as helpless as everyone else does. I've talked to my colleagues there in Texas, Chip Roy and August Pfluger, whose families, that's Chip's district. August's daughters were at the camp. We also had Betty Carter of Georgia, had grandchildren there. It touches so many families, and all we know to do at this moment is pray. Every available resource has been deployed. The president, of course, is dialed in and watching this develop moment by moment as we are, and we'll handle supplemental funding requests as they come in. But right now, they're still trying to do rescue and recovery, and our hearts go out to all of them.
Well, as that continues and as you may get emergency requests and supplemental, as you said, here in Washington, you're coming off a major legislative achievement here, which even until the last moment seemed like it might not come together. You had critics within the GOP. We'll talk about them, but clearly Democrats are not fans. You just heard Congressman Khanna, which I know you're friendly with him, describe what's going to happen in this bill. Here's what DNC Chair Ken Martin said. Donald Trump and the Republican Party sent a message to America. If you are not a billionaire, we don't give a damn about you. 17 million Americans will lose health care, over 5 million will lose food assistance, and millions will lose their jobs. Voters that we talked to in our latest poll very much think that this is going to hurt their family. Put the numbers up there. The largest group says not going to be good for them. You heard what Congressman Khanna said. It's going to make health insurance higher. People are going to lose the assistance they need. And so even if there are tax breaks built in for these different groups, the net offset is a negative.
I love my friend Ro Khanna, but he and the DNC chair there are sharing old, tired talking points. This is what they say every time there's Republican legislation having anything to do with taxes. They are overlooking the actual facts. All that is nonsense. Shannon, what we did in this bill is we made permanent the 2017 Trump's tax cuts, and that was geared for lower and middle class Americans, in spite of everything they said. The bottom 20% of earners saw their lowest federal tax rate in 40 years. Now we're building upon that. We just made that permanent, and we're building upon it because now we've cut tax on overtime and tips and had more tax relief for seniors, and we're giving everybody a tax cut, and that's going to help the economy. It's going to be jet fuel. Small business owners, entrepreneurs, risk takers, the people that provide the jobs, manufacturers, farmers get assistance here, and that will lift the economy. The Council of Joint Economic Advisors is expecting a 3% growth rate in the economy. That will be incredible. They're expecting 4 million additional jobs to be added. The average American, the typical American household, will have $13,000 more in take-home pay. This is a great thing for people who go to work every day, and they're going to feel that. And we're excited about the upcoming election cycle in 26 because people will be riding an economic high, just as we did after the first 2 years of the first Trump administration. But this time it's on steroids.
We'll get to the political implications of that, but you talked about these being permanent and across the board. So I want to play something from Democrat out of Maryland, Congressman Glenn Ivey. Here's what he said.
It's given with one hand and taking away a lot more with the other hand. And, some of the tax cuts that they put in place for working class people are time sensitive. They expire in a couple of years, whereas the one for the wealthiest Americans are permanent.
So what about that point that some of these are not going to be permanent for working class people?
No, I don't think he read the bill. It's 940 pages, so I would give some grace on that.
Well, if he was listening on the Senate last Sunday, they were reading it.
Yeah, you're right, for 19 hours or whatever it took. Here's the thing. If you make between $30,000 and $80,000 a year, you're going to have a 15% less federal tax rate. You're going to save more money. You're going to keep more of your hard-earned money, and that's not going away. So by making all these tax cuts permanent, it's the largest tax bill, the most important, most consequential tax bill that Congress has ever passed because of what it does for people who go out and work hard every day. We're going to make it easier on them, and all the other pro-growth policies in this bill. We also, at the same time, achieved the largest savings for the taxpayers in U.S. history, about $1.6 trillion in savings. So all those things are going to have a great effect. By the way, in the bill, we're also going to secure the border permanently. We're going to return to American energy dominance again, which is going to also be jet fuel to the economy. We're going to take care of peace through strength because we're going to give important investments in our military industrial complex, which will help us in our competition with China. There is so much in this bill. It would be difficult for us to cover it in one segment, but people are going to feel that, and we're super excited about what we were able to deliver.
Okay, so the vote to get the bill actually to the floor broke a record. For hours, that vote stayed open. You had a number of GOP holdouts who said there was no way they were going to vote for this. They were very worried about spending and Medicaid cuts and all kinds of other things. And yet they came around. So the question becomes, what deals were made? There are a couple of members who've said they were given assurances outside of this bill of other things that they would get down the line.
I don't make deals, never have since I became Speaker, which is why I'm still surviving with the gavel, right? You have to find out where people's red lines are and navigate through that with what we've had as the smallest margin in U.S. history at most points along the way. But we got it done. No side deals. What the extra time was, we needed that for people to process it. Remember, we got the Senate bill on a Tuesday. They modified a lot of what we did in the House. We worked on for over a year. So we needed a couple of days there for everybody to process what all those changes were and ensure that they knew exactly how that was going to be implemented by the administration. So the president, the vice president, cabinet secretaries were engaged in these discussions, answering questions. It was a full team effort, and that's how we got it over the line.
Okay, so Congressman Keith Self said that there had been promises for other offsets outside the bill itself. You talked about Congressman Chip Roy. He said their reconciliation bill. You've said there's going to be more of that. Yeah. He said, referring to promises that Johnson and others said that they would pursue outside of this bill.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about that publicly and privately for a year and a half. We have always planned to do the first big reconciliation bill, which is the big, beautiful bill. Now it's done a huge leap forward for our priorities. But then also we've been planning a second reconciliation bill for the fall that would be attached to the next fiscal year, and then potentially one in the spring. That's my plan. 3 reconciliations bills before this Congress is over. I think we can do that. And so you'll see more of us advancing these common sense principles to deliver that America First agenda for the people. That's what they elected us to do. And this was a huge leap forward.
So Democrats say they are excited to run on this bill.
Yeah, right.
A DCCC memo obtained by Axios says Republicans are going to lose the majority in 2026 because of this. They call it the GOP tax scam. They say the more that people know about it, the less that they like it. They're also talking about Democrats holding rallies outside of rural hospitals and nursing homes this summer to tell people that they are going to lose their care.
As I said on the House floor the other day, it takes a lot longer to build a lie than to tell the simple truth. Our Republicans are going to be out across the country telling the simple truth, and guess what? It will be demonstrated. Everyone will have more take-home pay. They'll have more jobs and opportunity. The economy will be doing better, and we'll be able to point to that as the obvious result of what we did. So don't buy into those false talking points.
All right. You've got some polls to overcome. We'll see if the messaging battle is won as you did on the Hill. Speaker, always good to see you.
Thanks
for
Shannon.
coming in.